Vatic recently revealed an updated version of all their paddles. For the 16mm V7, the change is strictly cosmetic with their updated logo and design. There's no change to the paddle face or weave, and the core is still the same as their old batch. I've been using the V7 for a few months now, and after having the opportunity to demo Carbon, Legacy, and 6.0, I still really enjoy this paddle and think out of all the 16mm thermoformed paddles, this is the most well-balanced one. In terms of power, it's below the Legacy and the 6.0 Black Diamond power. I would also put its power slightly below the Carbon 1X as well, but the difference between the two is very small. The paddles with less power than it would be the 6.0 Double Black Diamond Control, the Carbon 2X, and supposedly the Vatic Flash 16mm, though that's the one 16mm paddle I have yet to try. For how quick these paddles swing, both of the 6.0 paddles, the Carbon 2X and the Vatic Flash swing the quickest because of their non-elongated shape. The Carbon 1X swings the slowest from being the most head-heavy from its longer handle, and I would place both the Legacy Pro and V7 right in the middle, since both of these swing really similarly to me. In terms of spin, all of these paddles generate high amounts of spin, and I would classify them all in the top tier. But without any tools at my disposal, it's really hard to be able to tell the spin apart. Occasionally, here and there, I can notice balls may drop quicker on certain paddles on serves, or when I make big drives from the baseline, but this is all just me guessing and not knowing for sure, so I personally think that for most players, and in most situations you would be playing, you won't really notice a difference, especially in doubles. In terms of the sweet spot, I couldn't tell the difference between the Legacy, Carbon 1X, and the Vatic V7. Obviously for the 6.0 paddles, the Carbon 2X and the Vatic Flash, they were different because their shape is more standard rather than elongated, so their sweet spot was wider and not as long. But for me, coming from a gearbox paddle, all the paddles felt great with their sweet spots. One common feedback people have said when demoing the Vatic is how it has the stiffest paddle face compared to the other thermoform paddles. It isn't as plush as the other brands, so the feel is different when the ball contacts the face. I don't have a good way of really describing the difference in words, and this is something you just have to experience for yourself, but the feel is more of a personal preference, and I won't really classify this as a pro or a con. One thing to note is that I have only demoed the newer version of the Vatic V7 paddles, and this comparison is against the first batch of Legacy, 6.0, and Carbon paddles. I haven't tried out any of their new batch of paddles yet. Vatic and all the other thermoform paddle companies have also updated their construction process to resolve the delamination issue that's been happening to these new paddles. Previously, the glue that attached the paddle face to the core was applied manually by hand. Because of the higher heat that the thermoforming process applies to the paddle, this would occasionally cause the glue to become weaker, where eventually the paddle face would separate from the core, which would cause loud noises, dead spots, and areas of the paddle face, where the balls would fly off much quicker. But now all the thermoform paddles will have the glue applied in a sheet by a machine, and they increase the amount of glue in the paddle, which should supposedly fix the delamination issue. I've used my new V7 for over 2 weeks now, and so far I haven't had any issues, but only time will tell if this new technique truly fixes everything. Overall, the Vatic V7 16mm paddle is very well rounded in terms of its weight, power, control, and speed. For the retail price of $140, there's no paddle that beats it at its price point. I definitely recommend it as a good option if you're new to the thermoform paddles and want to try one out, but aren't yet sure which qualities in a paddle you value the most. If you do want to get one, feel free to use my discount code in the video description, and in future videos I will be taking a deeper look at the Vatic Flash series and the other thermoform brands.